Welcome to our series CLO3D Essentials. Today we'll be looking at graphics and prints in CLO3D. By the end of this tutorial, you'll know how to place and scale graphics, align prints along seams, and create all-over prints. Go ahead and open up your program and open an existing file or load in an avatar and garment from the library. I've opened the t-shirt created in our video Quick Guide to Color in CLO3D. In this program, a graphic is an image placed on a pattern piece. When I speak of a pattern, I mean a pattern piece such as this sleeve in my 2D window. When mentioning a graphic or print, I mean an image placed on this pattern. A texture is an image placed on a fabric, and typically you choose an image of what this fabric looks like, such as the weave of denim, the knit of jersey, or the rough surface of leather. We'll have a look at using a print as a texture later. For now, let's start with a graphic. The tool needed to place a graphic is right here, and it's simply called Graphic 2D Pattern. As the name implies, there's also a graphic 3D pattern right here. All this means is that you can place the graphic on the garment in either 2D or 3D. Clicking on the tool will bring up your file explorer. I've placed 2 images on my desktop for this tutorial. And as you can see down here, CLO3D can accept many image file types, including Adobe Illustrator files. If you place an Illustrator file as a graphic, it'll form a link between CLO3D and Illustrator. When you change something about the graphic in Illustrator, you'll be able to refresh the graphic by clicking F5 in CLO3D and have the changes applied immediately. It will also increase the file size of your 3D project, so if you're not planning on making a lot of changes, it's more efficient to work with smaller files such as PNGs or JPEGs. I'll choose one of my images and give my program a moment to load it. Then, once I move my cursor over a pattern piece, I'll see measurements from my cursor to the pattern outline. This is to give me an idea of where my graphic will be placed. Once I left-click somewhere on my pattern, I get this pop-up, Add Graphic. I can specify the dimensions of my graphic here, and the values are the size I saved my image as. If I saved my graphic from Photoshop as 5 by 5 centimeters, I'll get those same values here. Then there's the position, either from the outline of the graphic to the outline of the pattern piece, or from the center of the graphic to the outline of the pattern piece. I can adjust these values numerically here, or reposition my graphic by hand later on. Hit OK, and it'll take a moment to place the graphic. Now it's visible in both 2D and 3D. It has a yellow sheen to it in the 3D window because it's currently selected. When we click into space, we see that it has this coloring. Our tool has automatically changed to the Transform Graphic tool directly next to the graphic tool. And with this one enabled, we can move around our graphic by clicking and dragging both in 2D and in 3D. We'll also be able to click on it and scale or rotate it. If you want to undo any steps, you can click Ctrl-Z or Z on your keyboard. When moving it by hand, you may notice it snapping into positions. That's due to the pink guidelines helping you align the things in your scene. With these, I'll be able to easily position this directly in the center of my pattern piece. Now we have a single graphic on our pattern. Placing more works exactly the same way. Just repeat the steps we did so far. If we have a graphic selected, we can find more options in the property editor to the right. Scrolling down, you'll see that here, under Graphic Configuration, you have the options Face and Tile. The face is which side of the garment your graphic is on. By default, it's on the front, but you can choose to have it visible on the back only or on both sides. If I choose back, it disappears from view, and I can find it by hiding my avatar and turning my view to look into my garment. Underneath Face, I have Tile. Here I have a drop-down for the original setting, which is a single graphic, X-axis, Y-axis, and pattern. X-axis will tile this image along the X-axis for me, which is horizontally in my 2D pattern window. The Y-axis will tile it along the vertical in my pattern window. Pattern will tile it across my entire pattern piece. You'll notice that all of these options override the appearance of my yellow fabric. The image is placed on top of it. Graphic transformation lets you scale your graphic numerically instead of by hand. Be sure to lock the aspect ratio with this checkbox. The measurements you saw when you first placed your graphic can be enabled again here, under 2D measurements. With these, you can accurately place your prints. Now this graphic is only on one pattern piece, and if you move it to a seam, you'll see that whatever is outside your pattern outline disappears from view. If you want to have this graphic across your seam, onto your sleeve and your shoulder, you need to place copies on those pattern pieces. So hit Ctrl+C to copy and Ctrl+V to paste the graphic to your sleeve. Click anywhere on the sleeve to place it. Then repeat those steps for the back piece. Ctrl+C to copy, Ctrl+V to paste, and click to place. Then in the 3D window, you can easily move and rotate the graphics to match the front. As you can see, down here it matches nicely, but up here it's difficult due to the curved seam. This is likely something that is in the works at CLO Virtual Fashion and will be improved as time goes on. For now, I'd like to stick to the single graphic in the center of my garment, so I'll delete the graphics on the sleeve and back piece by selecting them holding Shift and deleting with my keyboard. Earlier, we looked at tiling a graphic across a whole pattern piece, but if you'd like an all-over print for multiple pattern pieces, it's better to load in the image as a texture on the fabric. It'll result in smaller file size and easier modification than by using the graphic function. If you go to your fabric here in your object browser, Then down here you have the option Texture. Simply click on the icon with the 4 squares to choose an image from the File Explorer. I'll choose the gray one. Loading that in will immediately tile the image across all pattern pieces assigned to this fabric, and you'll notice that the graphic is overlaid with the yellow we applied to our fabric in the last video. To remove that, simply change the color to white in the property editor. To modify textures, you'll need the tool next to the Transform Graphic tool, Edit Texture. Again, you can do this in 3D or in 2D. It'll let you reposition the texture on individual pattern pieces so that they match at the seam. They won't align perfectly in my example because my seam is curved. With this tool, you can also manually scale and rotate the texture across all pattern pieces. Hold Shift to snap in at 45-degree angles. This line here is the grain line, which is the direction in which the pattern piece is cut out of a fabric in real life. We won't go into detail on that in this video, but if you're unfamiliar with the term and would like a video about it, please let us know in the comments section below. To transform the texture numerically, check out the transformation section in the property editor. That wraps up how to use graphics in CLO3D. Check the description box for more information and drop your suggestions in the comment section below. Have fun!